It's been a couple of days since the incident. No one has seen or heard from Kageyama. The whole team was worried, but unexpectedly, Tsukishima was the most worried. A day later, Kageyama had trudged into the gym during the middle of practice, not even wanting to be there at school in the first place. Everyone had rushed over to Kageyama, bombarding him with questions like, "Are you okay and where have you been?" And of course, the blue-haired boy couldn't hear a word they were saying. So he tried to get their attention. Guys. Wait. Listen. After failing to get the attention of a large crowd in front of him, he suddenly felt extremely overwhelmed. Something in him had snapped. "Will you shut up and let me talk?" Everyone was speechless. "I cannot hear a thing you guys are talking about. One at a time, please." Everyone started speaking up again and the noise created by the mob grew out of control. Frustrated, Kageyama stepped back outside without anyone noticing. Tsukishima, being a very observing person, of course, noticed that Kageyama had left. So he too slipped outside, being unnoticed by the team. Once a good distance from the gym doors, he went on a search to find the missing boy. With Kageyama. As Kageyama stormed outside, he hastily grabbed his headphones out of his bag and put on his favorite coping playlist as he marched to the nearest convenience store. After he reached the small mart and bought his milk, he wandered around mindlessly until he found himself in front of the same playground he went to with Shoyo on their first date. He started getting flashbacks of all the good times they had together. Then it hit him. All at once, he was reminded how his lover cheated, how he started becoming more distant in their relationship, how he's been hanging out with Kenma more often. It's all over. This is the end. Kageyama then fell to his knees, with his hands over his head. He kept muttering the words, "He cheated," over and over again. Tsukishima, following him, notices him in this state and darted over to him. "Hey King, you good?" The blonde had squatted down next to the blue-haired boy. Once he tried to grab his wrist, he noticed that the boy was shaking uncontrollably. "Ah shit, is he having a panic attack? What to do? What to do? I know. Hey, Kageyama, look at me." Slowly but surely, Kageyama had looked over at Tsukishima, tears streaming down his face. "Can I touch you?" Hesitantly, the blue-haired boy had nodded, giving him permission. After getting the signal, Tsukishima had brought Kageyama into a hug. "All right, King? Breathe with me." The blonde then drew Kageyama's hand to his chest and started breathing rhythmically. Reluctantly, Kageyama copied. "Breathe in for 4 seconds. Hold it for 8. Exhale for another 4 seconds." They repeated that process a couple of times until the smaller boy's breathing stilled. Step 1 complete. "Okay now King." Not wanting to answer to the name, Kageyama looked up at the male embracing him. "Name 5 things that you can see." With a shaky breath, Kageyama had answered. "The slide. You. The street light. Cars. The road too." "Good, now what are 4 things that you can touch?" The grass. Your hands." Both Tsukishima and Kageyama were blushing, but they ignored it. He crawls over to the seesaw to just brush his hand across its sandy texture. And he says aloud, "The seesaw. Very good. What are 3 things you can hear?" "I hear the cars driving on the road, crickets chirping, and..." He pauses for a moment to listen for any other sounds. After not being able to hear anything else, he crawled back to the blonde sitting across the playground. He squeezed back into his warm embrace and put his head to Tsukishima's chest. "Your heartbeat." The taller male was blushing like crazy while Kageyama was almost at ease. Okay. What are 2 things you can smell?" "I can smell." Kageyama had perked his head up, as to get in a better sitting position. "Wet grass." "What?" Tsukishima chuckled hearing this. He couldn't help it. Seeing Kageyama like this was sorta funny. "What else?" Cars. Cars. You know what I mean. Right. Next. What is 1 thing you taste?" Kageyama thought for a moment. After a short while, he shook his head no. He then licked himself and said, "Myself. Okay." They sat there for another couple of minutes when Kageyama then stood up and began to walk away. "Hey, where are you going?" "Home. And no thank you. I just helped you." "Right, sorry. Thanks. Now I have to go." "All right, bye King." Once Kageyama had reached his residence. "I'm home," he said, taking his shoes off at the door and placing his bag on the couch. "Tobio-chan, where have you been? Are you okay?" Are you hurt anywhere? The brown-haired male then moved his hands to the younger's faces to feel if there was anything wrong with him. Oi, babes, you have to stop pestering Kageyama like that. Sorry Iwa and Kags. It's fine Oni-Aizen. Iwaizumi had walked into the living room from the bedroom he was inhabiting. Once he reached the spot Oikawa and Kageyama were standing, he wrapped his arms around Oikawa's smaller figure and planted a quick kiss on the tip of his nose. Hey, squirt. How are ya? He said as he ruffled the younger's hair, arms still around his boyfriend. I'm good Iwaizumi-san. But in all seriousness, where were you? I was at the playground. Okay Well come on, I'll reheat dinner. Kageyama curiously followed, wondering what was for dinner. His eyes lit up once he saw that they were having pork curry. Hey, Kags. Can I talk to you for a sec? Sure. So, how have you been handling the situation? What situation? You know, the one with Hinata. Oh. Tears started to build up in his eyes. I'm sorry. I didn't know it was still a sensitive topic. It's fine. Tobio come here. Oikawa motioned his arms for a hug, and almost immediately, Kageyama had jumped into them, letting the wall of tears break. The older sibling felt sorrow for the younger sibling, having to experience this. He hummed to himself while stroking the other's back. This went on for another 10 or so minutes. The spiky-haired male had walked in the room just as the youngest was about to fall asleep. Oikawa shushing him promptly, but also mouthing for him to join them. Inspecting the sleeping boy, he decided to join them. He sat behind Oikawa and let his boyfriend lean against him as he cradled the both of them. Soon Oikawa had also fallen asleep, and that signaled that Iwaizumi had to deal with the rest of the chores. After washing the dishes, making the beds, and sweeping the house, he went back to the couch to sleep along with the other residents living in the household. The next day was a Saturday and Oikawa thought it a good idea to go out with Iwaizumi, so Kageyama was left alone in the house. Kageyama was laying in bed wondering what he could do. Then he decided to go text the group chat. He knew what could happen, but he was pretty sure we was prepared. He was finally going to face him. In the Karasuno group chat, Milky BB is online. Hey guys? Crazy Wine Ant Wine Glass. Sparkles. Dead Chi Skull. Nishinala High Voltage Sign. Sparkles. And plus 7 others are online. To be continued.